Hello, and welcome to the Neuro Spiritual Awakening podcast with Dr. Val. And it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to introduce Alandra. Hello, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. And as I was just saying 2 seconds ago before I hit the record button, we don't really know each other. This makes it so exciting because I just can't wait to get to know you
Mm,
and jam and chat and all of that. But
me too.
yeah. So look, without any further ado, I'll literally hand it over to you. I'll let you introduce yourself
Oh,
and say whatever you want to say about yourself, and so that people know who we're talking to.
okay. Hello, I'm Alandra Markman. I'm a healer and a poet and a musician, and a community organizer in Mount Shasta, California, west coast of the USA. Most people know me as a survivor of trauma-based mind control, so most of the public appearances I've done revolve around that. I was raised in a Luciferian family, Satanic cult family, that was also tied in with the US Air Force and CIA. So pretty heavy military and institutional involvement, as well as Satanic cult involvement. And I was also put into what are usually called the secret space programs and had a bunch of separate timeline experiences and was age regressed to an earlier age and then did it all over again on another timeline. So many people find those last couple things the most interesting things.
Hey, I find it all interesting, and this is so your show as much as, I'm the host of the podcast, but let's make it about you, given that you're the guest here, the honored guest. And look, as much as, yes, some with the last things that you said, some of the listeners, and honestly, I don't know who listens to this podcast. You never know, do you? Not everybody hits the like or the subscribe or whatever. So who knows? And 10 years from now, who knows who's gonna listen to it? But yeah, probably some people will be like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know you could exist outside of this one timeline right here. I didn't even know this was a timeline. I mean,
uh,
this was, as a neuroscientist who was a full-on academic for a while, I wasn't aware that there are multiple timelines either. Like maybe somewhere deep inside I did, but not not really. Like not in the conversational domain, so to speak.
yeah.
So if you're listening and you're like, hey, this is what is a timeline? Okay, cool. Well, what's a timeline, Alandra?
Oh, well, it's usually something we never have to think about because it's just part of our normal reality. Um, you know, ooh, cat mug, I like it. Um, yeah, we live in time, we're born, grow old, die, incarnate again, have another life. It's the whole thing that we do. That's time, we live in time. Um, when we start talking about timelines, we're usually talking about that happening from multiple points of view at the same time. So instead of in just a linear sequence of, birth, death, rebirth, blah, blah, um, there are many tracks at the same time and parallel versions of us. Um, the more pedestrian way to think about this is usually in terms of forking or branching realities. Oh, what if I'd made a slightly different choice? The butterfly wings flap, and suddenly, there's a whole different like political system in a certain country, and the whole world is different. And the snowballing effects of the little tiny decisions of everyday life is sort of the classic, you know,
Mm. In,
classic trope. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah, no, same,
yeah.
say more. I was gonna say something about the neuroscientific aspect of that, but
Oh, go
let's
ahead.
just,
Yeah, let's have some
well,
expertise.
yeah, and look, I'm a kind of a different flavor of type of neuroscientist, but nonetheless, I studied within that, let's say,
Yeah.
area. So, on a brain level, yes, the brain perceives time in a linear fashion, but also it is, as a neuroscientist, I know, like what you say, is that there are multiple, actually, it's all like happening at once. And the human brain's like just got this limited capacity for now. I don't think it's forever. I think eventually, and some people already do exist this way where they can access they live in all when it's all happening at once, or they experience that. At least I've had that experience when I did a native ceremony once, and it's like it actually all of it was happening at once. The person in front of me all of a sudden became this Aztec person, and I was like, "Are you the guy that was there?" Like, or and then was that a second or was that an eternity? Like, my brain literally went like, "Oh my gosh!" But I had to, like, I had the opportunity to experience multiple timelines all happening at once, which is where I got my belief that, yeah, I think it is all happening at once, and the human brain just kind of makes it palpable for us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're spiritual people. All time is simultaneous. Yes, that's universal truth. Um, so yeah, it does touch on that, obviously, when you have your frame of reference fragmented. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I interrupted you, but let's keep going. So there's you were brought to all these timelines, different by, the CIA, and some people obviously don't, well, not obviously, but may not know that there are all these programs within that structure that are not visible to the public. My
Yeah.
father happens to be, well, he's dead now, but he happened to be a KGB agent, so a similar kind of, I didn't dig in too much into, I didn't really know him, but I knew that he was in the KGB. I knew that he was up to no good, other than that, like, yeah.
Do you know what his area was?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was, well, I got told by no other but by Jeanette Archer that he was in the underbelly of the operations, and it wasn't really a good vibe. I don't think it could be a good vibe within that area anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was in the underbelly. But that's again, that's all I know, and I haven't had much more experience around that, not like you anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, if
Well,
you want to say
to
more
give
about any of that.
sure. Well, to give people a little bit more of a reference point, that so I was part of Project Phoenix, which is one of many interrelated projects which uh, were oriented around dismantling the barriers between timelines and dimensions and different experiences. Um, it's a global project involving most of the major governments around the world. So this is a very large scale thing. The best documented aspect of these many interrelated projects, the best known one is usually called the Montauk Project. That's Project Phoenix. Happened at Montauk, Long Island. And some of the main perpetrators within that project, the people who were working for Air Force Intelligence and Bell Labs, um, sort of broke their programming a little bit. And some of their alters wrote a book about it without having access to all the information that their other alters held. That gets complex, but
Hmm.
so a personality fragment of some of the perpetrators of the Montauk Project wrote books about it, and so that got a lot of press. It got really well known, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. They had a series of books come out. They did some video documentaries, so there are a lot of videos and other forms of exposure, people talking about it. Um, and it's really the exception, not the rule. Most of these projects are still highly secret, and there's little or no public disclosure about them. Um, so Montauk is just a very visible tip of the iceberg for all the time travel, dimensional travel, and space programs that exist. Yeah, but it just happens to be the best known, and it's in pop culture. The show Stranger Things is based on the Montauk Project loosely. Um,
Yeah, wow. I mean, yeah, it does have flavors of it. I haven't watched the whole thing through, but I did have it. This is the what it, this is what it, I guess the reaction on a subconscious level that show elicited in me is I watched it ages ago, but recently I had this dream, like I entered the flip side of that, of, whatever happens in Stranger Things, that weird area, that flip side. But it had that feel, right, in my dream, which so I was astrally there. And it was like it was like an abattoir, but instead of animal carcasses, it was all human carcasses. And I was like, what is this dimension? Like, I've never been here before, and I don't really want to be here. Like, get me the fuck out of here. Gosh.
yeah.
But then when I woke up, I had this like realization that, man, that place is somewhere. That actually is a place that I went to in my dream. And I'm not a dream expert, but I am aware that, we leave our physical body, go project somewhere astrally, that body goes off. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I went, and it kind of gave me the feel of Stranger Things in a very, very close manner. And
Yeah.
I didn't, my
Yeah.
human, yeah, yeah. Say more, say more. I just wanted to share that with
Oh,
you because
yeah.
I find that, yeah, I just wanted to share that.
I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, that's where the satanic practice ties in with the Montauk Project. Um, a lot of the Montauk Project organizers and the organizers of these interrelated time travel projects are committed Satanists. So they're seeking access to those lower astral realms where they can be closer to the demons that they work with. So that's one of the explicit purposes of the project. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. What a, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's like I just questioned what would have one do that, but I think that's not a let's not discuss that here other
Oh,
than
yeah. Well,
you're like purely
yeah.
evil. I just yeah.
It's true that no truly self-respecting rational person would ever do something like this. Like, let's just say that because it's true. It's very difficult to wrap our minds around because most of us listening are going to be people of conscience who attempt to live decent lives. And if you're making any attempt to live a decent life, it's almost impossible to comprehend these things. They're just unfathomable. So just want to honor that
Thank
massive,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
moral
yeah, yeah.
boundary.
Yeah, yes, thank you. And having said that, I wasn't even aware. It's like I was aware, but not really. I was still sleeping until quite recently, until I heard an interview with Max Lowen and she started talking about SRA. And then all of a sudden, I started talking to all these other people, and here we are. But this was like very recent where I was almost like, and even though my dad was in the KGB, like, right? And I'm like in my late 30s now. It took a while for me to like, I don't know, start getting with it. Yeah, and
Sure.
actually
Yeah.
opening my eyes, heart, ears, and consciousness to um what's going on.
Yeah, it takes a while. For survivors as well, it takes us a while to believe ourselves. I mean, typically we go decades believing we're insane, so it takes a while. Yeah.
I don't even know what that would be like. But as I just take it from what you're saying, it just takes a while to kind of, yeah. And then on a neuroscientific level, I think when you can communicate with other people who can recreate your experience and not validate it, but actually who can relate to it, that's when that's when in the brain those kind of social connections start to form, and you do realize that okay, I'm not insane. This is real, and there's other people that are experiencing this and have.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
social animals, and it really helps when people model some awareness. We can all step into that awareness together. The people that I mentioned, the perpetrators who were disclosing about their own project, really helped me. I watched their videos like 15 years later or something, and they really helped me. Like Al Bielek's videos, he was part of the project and mostly a perpetrator, but his videos really sparked something for me and like jogged memories awake, and so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I understand that to the level that I can, to the extent that I can.
Hmm.
Um, what I wanted to ask was, as we're existing, or in your understand or experience, like as we're existing in these parallel timelines, which, branch off into a gazillion different options, I guess, or frames, if you will. Um, How distinct are they? Like really vastly distinct, or is there a flavor that connects them all? Like,
There's
yeah,
a wide range. Yeah, some are quite similar, some are very, very different. Um, And the more different they get, the more energy is required to travel between them. So that was another purpose of Montauk was to travel between timelines that are usually inaccessible to one another. We actually travel between timelines quite normally as part of everyday life, but the timelines are just ever so slightly different.
mm,
And it's usually not even worth thinking about. You just drive yourself crazy. Um, um,
mm.
but there do exist timelines that are so radically different that they're almost unrecognizable. There are versions of Earth that are almost entirely separate. where you have an almost entirely separate society developing in a very different way. And to move between those kinds of realities takes much more energy. Um, so that was part of the purpose of it, especially to link up our timeline, which is one of the more positive ones, if not the most positive, to link this one up with more negative ones, especially ones where the Nazis won World War II and were controlling much of the planet. Like, to give an example of a pretty dire one,
Yeah.
um, that was a certain timeline that the Montauk people really wanted to connect to, because a lot of them are Nazis. The US brought over a lot of Nazi people through Project Paperclip. A lot of people have talked about that. Um, so there are a lot of, like, full-on Nazis wearing uniforms, SS people as part of Montauk. So obviously, people with that political leaning would be very, very enthusiastic about going to another timeline where the Nazis actually openly controlled the world.
Mhm.
So that's one purpose.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just kind of don't even want to imagine what that would be like. And not that I even lived during that time. I mean, and maybe in my last life I was. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
it's in the mass consciousness. Philip K. Dick did a pretty good job writing about it, and they made it an Amazon series, The Man in the High Castle. The book is really excellent. Yeah.
Talking about books, I wanted to ask you this because you're the expert. I read this book by Michel Desmarquet about the Thayuba prophecy. Like he goes to this golden planet where these beings that have auras, and you can read people. They can read your aura. Blah, blah. I mean, they have all these, and they do talk about the different lifetimes and also the past of this planet, even within this, I guess, time space continuum, like the way that Earth was before, like way, way before, and
Mhm.
what happened to the populations that lived here. We are back. Welcome back after that. Hey, who knows how long that was, really? It's all happening all at once. But I was asking whether the Thayuba prophecy seems true, just for anyone who might ever read that thing, because it resonated with me. But again, because I never had that experience, like I never went to Thayuba like Michel Desmarquet, and I can't really ask him because he's not with us now. Um, I was wondering, because you do wonder, and I know none of it is real anyway. Like the things that we perceive in the 3D reality are just like a very, very minute um, part of the story, even though it feels like the whole deal, but it's really not. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Thayuba and places like that because, especially because you've been to other planets, unlike most people that I've spoken to recently.
Yeah. Well, it gives me truth bumps, so it's probably true. My body tells me what's true or not true.
Mm. And it's so valuable to be able to be, in tune with your body to that extent where your body can tell you whether something is or isn't true. And for the most part, I think it takes a while for people to become that way.
It takes some cultivation, especially because our educational system is tooled to suppress that. So we have a lot of unlearning to do.
Totally. Speaking of the educational system, which I've spent a long time in, of
Hmm,
course,
hmm.
um, and I'm not a fan of it by any means, even though I spent the amount of time that I have, and I've left academia. But um, have you gone through the educational system, and how was it?
I have. It was pretty silly.
Yeah,
Um, I did my best. I don't know. They sent me to grade school through college. I got a music degree out of
yeah,
college. Um, I didn't really care for any of it too much. I mean, my real education was in the programs. They have a much more advanced education. So, So school was pretty boring. Although I enjoyed it a lot because it was a safe place mostly where I was not abused. So it stood out for that reason.
Oh,
But the actual curriculum was quite a snooze fest. Yeah.
yeah, I, I hear ya. And with,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, yeah, after what I'd been through, like I had really advanced education in the mind control context. And not all of it was negative. Some of it was very positive. Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you describe mind control to our listeners? What is that in your, yeah, and how do you see it?
It's an attempt to have someone's will entirely dependent on another person's choices to control another person's choices, which basically involves fragmenting their mind until they're a system of personalities that are not cooperating with one another and often not even aware of one another. And then they can be manipulated from outside to do various things against their will.
Uh-huh. And thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
And do you think, or is that happening to most people? In,
mm, to a limited extent, there are forms of mass mind control that we're all experiencing as a society, global society, and especially in the wealthy nations. Um, and obviously, there are forms of it that are much more intense and more personalized, like what I went through. And there's definitely a spectrum of experience. Yeah.
mm, mm. And thank you again. I'm just like, I have all these questions. I'm like, what about this? And what about this? What about this? Is there anything you want to talk about before I ask my next question?
I love questions. This
Okay.
is, yeah, it's one of the premises that we are gathered to celebrate.
That's true. That's true. Thank you. Thanks for being gracious about it and into it as much as I am, because I'm like,
Mm,
okay, what's the next bubbling questions? Even though I didn't make any of the, I didn't write them prior to this interview. As I said, we're just really going with the flow here. Um,
mhm.
and what is so this one is the most, one of the most positive timelines, as you mentioned earlier. And are you here by choice?
I am.
Yeah, yeah. It's beautiful to be here by choice. I mean, when you do choose it,
Mhm.
when you do choose it. And what are you at work on now that you've experienced everything that you've experienced that most people will never have the opportunity to experience, or opportunity is the wrong word for it, I guess, that they'll just never have that experience, let's just say. And I know all our experiences are unique, but your particular experience is your experience. And having had that experience, what are you up to now? Here, what's happening in your life? What are you up to?
Yeah. One of my main interests is helping other survivors who have similar experiences to put themselves back together, integrate alters, get more free, you know, do their own disclosure if they want to, do interviews and books and whatever they do.
Yeah.
I think the more of us that go public, the better it is for everyone. Um, and I don't have an expectation that my coaching clients go public, but it does bring me joy um, to help people reestablish themselves in the world and, create a fresh personality that actually represents who they are after they've been so shattered. So obviously that's very meaningful. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and options for coaching or therapy for that kind of experience are very few. So
Mm,
I'm very aware of how rare this is as a service, and I try to build community with other survivors. It's very difficult. Very, we're very mm, discouraged, to put it mildly, and
yeah.
we have a lot of trauma baggage keeping us from gathering and organizing. So I try to gather and organize, but also, of course, most people I meet are not survivors of mind control in the personal sense. So I do a lot of other things, general spiritual development work. I host meditation groups. I write poetry on the spot for people on a portable typewriter, poetry upon request. So
Mm,
that's been my one aspect of my self-employment for my whole free life. Um, yeah, and that's been pretty rewarding. I do events and gigs. I work at the Mount Shasta Farmers Market, writing poems on the spot.
that's
So
so
I'm really into art.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just like with the poems, do you, how does it come to you? I mean, we're all channels for something ultimately, but what do you think is happening when you do write poetry?
Oh, well, the dimensions are blending in a much more benign and organic way. Yeah,
Hmm, amazing.
directed by creative intelligence. I love creativity. It's the best. And when things are organized, yeah, according to creativity and free play, we wind up often with a much better way of things, whatever the things are, whether they're words in a poem or people in a village or whatever the things are. Like when people are actually allowed their creativity, we make beautiful things.
I agree. I agree. Creativity is key. It's like the antithesis of, I don't know, all the other low vibrations, like in fear. Let's just say that one. Actually, believe it or not, I did my PhD in the neural circuitry of fear-related behavior. Okay, so I know, I know.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, I think I was just, somehow that's where the universe placed me, and I enjoyed doing that and learning about that. And having said that, knowing what's happening at the level of the brain and your neural system when you're in fear makes little difference to when you actually do experience it. Like, when I feel fear, I'm like, okay, I know my amygdala's got like this is happening, that's happening, but I'm still here for that experience. Here we are. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I think learning
nonetheless,
about fear,
huh?
I think learning about fear is very wise.
Hmm. Well, yeah, being that how it's a survival mechanism, and then the fact that a lot of us are in that mechanism or under the that flavor for long periods of time throughout our lives, yeah, I just it's a useful thing to get a grasp on or an understanding of.
Very useful,
Yeah, an understanding.
especially,
Yeah.
especially because fear is the basis of all mind control, private and public.
Yeah, it is because it's like it's an emotion, right? That is linked to our primal instincts, and all animals, humans, all organisms that I know of or that I've studied or looked at or know about have the limbic system, for survival. But when that's the primary system that's being activated throughout day one to the day you die, it's kind of like you start questioning, am I really living or am I just in pure survival for most of life? Um, and it's an interesting one to ask yourself because there are those moments of, profound joy, love, or creativity is one of them, which is why I started saying it's the antithesis of fear and survival-based behaviors
Mm.
because creativity really does expand our hearts, consciousness, all of that. Um, but I'd love to see a timeline where we're not in constant threat.
Me too.
Maybe that's what I'm creating, part of the things. Oh, this is part of my what I'm up to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
what are you up to?
that
Do you want to, yeah, say?
Yeah, well, look, that is partly what I'm up to. I mean, within this podcast, I started it out by like, hey, people have something to talk about. I'm into awakening. I'm into discovering what's outside of the 3D and supporting other individuals in the world who especially people like from academia or maybe the corporate world or space, places where people are just starting to even question the nature of this reality. I think that's not only who I'm speaking to, but I would love for them to hear this and actually get, you know, get get curious about what's really going on in the world and raise their awareness, consciousness, that kind of thing. um, I think that's one of my little projects or missions. Um, yeah, like that. And then of course for everybody to share their flavor of the awakening. And it is so very different for all of us. And also to hear hear your story, mine, other people's. they're also different, and I would say they're still relating to the same phenomenon of the awakening process, or at least that's my little experiment here.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm I'm so looking forward to more disclosure and all these secret methods being made public and all this secret neuroscientific research being made public. I think it'll be a great benefit for humanity. Yeah,
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
trauma-based mind control perpetrators are very deeply interested in neuroscience, and they have a very advanced body of work. Uh, yeah, and we're gonna learn so much about who we are and what the brain does and how the heart works and everything. It's just gonna be amazing.
yeah, and it's something that I'm in the discovery of. As I said, I did my PhD in the neural mechanisms underlying fear-related, anxiety-related behavior, those structures. But really, now I'm really interested in neuroplasticity, the way that our brain has the capacity to rewire itself based on novel experience. And what I'm learning, what I've learned, and is really incredible. Like you can literally, yeah, you can rewire your brain. And I'm like, I'm just questioning, you can rewire your brain and place yourself on new timelines like by rewiring your brain, because our reality really is generated by the brain in my understanding as a neuroscientist, which is pretty like big as a statement. And yeah, and so I'm like, if we have sovereignty about our own brains, and of course we're not just our brains, as you said, we're our hearts, and there's the connection between the heart and the brain and the rest of our body, and the other layers of our being. We're not just a brain, but I think this perception of our reality is what the current state of our brain allows for, and I just can't wait to see us form those neural pathways where we can that allow for so much more.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the brain creates perception and the heart creates reality.
Mm, mm, mm. And do you think that the heart, I mean, if the heart creates reality, is it because it senses frequencies, vibrations, energies? I know there's, it emits its own things, but
Mhm.
why so? Or how
Well,
so?
the electromagnetic field coming from the heart is way stronger than the one coming from the brain.
All right. Yeah, when you put it that way.
Uh,
When you when you when you put it that way, I don't have anything. I won't rebut that in any way.
uh, oh,
That
thanks. I'm relieved.
That's true, yeah. No, it's amazing. And yet they work in coherence, and I think there is a way to have them work in coherence for the betterment of, everyone involved.
May it be so.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay, we've went so many different places, but I absolutely love that. And despite my technological hiccup, but nonetheless, I do want to ask you about different planets, different species. I could not because it's just, I mean, it might be boring for you because everyone's asking you the same thing, but I'll be another one of those people. Because tell us about that. And
Yeah.
especially now there's so much more talk about, contact and all that stuff and our past lives and us being star seeds and all this stuff. So
Mm.
what's that all about?
Oh, so much wonderful stuff. There are many kinds of humans in the world, on the earth, off the earth. Um, some humans look like us, some don't. And there are many, many variations on this general form of, two arms, two legs, and a head, sort of with a torso. Many versions of that. Um, some have what we would consider animal features. Lots of reptilian beings came up in my experiences, usually a little bigger than us. Lizard people, as they're colloquially called, or the Draco. That's the star system they come from, so they take the name of that star system. Um, yeah. Um, the Zeta Reticulans are another one. These are the two main groups that one is likely to encounter if they're a survivor of the trauma-based mind control programs. So The Draco are bigger than us and look like humans mixed with dinosaurs with a big dinosaur head and lizard tail. The Zeta Reticulans are also humans, same general humanoid thing, um, but they're shorter than us, usually have 4 fingers instead of 5. And their eyes are much more photosensitive. They're a lot bigger. They have a huge pupil. It's a big black eyes. Um, and really big heads, more highly developed brain, do have a higher cognitive neural capacity, um, but not as much life force, a little bit of a dimmer light, not as much emotion. We have so much emotion in these bodies, and we're really tuned for that. Generally, the grays, the zeta reticulans, have less emotion but higher cognitive functioning, um, to make broad generalizations.
Mm,
And there are many other kinds of grays, not just from Zeta Reticulum, but from all over the galaxy. It's a case of convergent evolution, where many different humanoid races sort of evolved to look similar. So there are Orion grays, Arcturian grays, Andromedan grays from all around, our galaxy. But yeah, that's a general type of humanoid. These are both general types. The reptilian is a general type. The gray is a general type. Another one that you might run into with trauma-based mind control survivors are the mantids. So these are also humanoid, but they're like a praying mantis. They have insect features. And some are positive, some are negative. With all these groups, you have good and bad factions, and
yeah.
different branches of evolution. Yeah.
And one sec. And when you say you might encounter them, are they, where are they?
Um, the most common place to experience them would be in the astral, and most commonly in dreams. Um, so that would be the most obvious place. But also for those of us who have gone into deep meditation and gone into altered states, they show up there as well pretty easily. When we're adjusting our senses and our perception to peer into the fourth and fifth dimension, we'll see these entities much more often. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
But
All
they
right.
do exist they do exist in 3D with us as well. So I want to stress that. These are not just astral beings, they're also physical. Many of them live in these secret military bases and they're walking around with 3D bodies just like anybody else. So they
Uh-huh.
are here physically. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are they here for? Do you know?
A variety of purposes. Obviously, the ones involved with the mind control torture programs are here for negative purposes.
Yeah.
um, to stunt our evolution and, have a parasitic relationship with us and steal our life force and such. So those are some purposes. On the other hand, there are grays and reptilians and mantids that are here for spiritual enlightenment. They're here to lift us up for basically the direct opposite purpose, to inspire us to enter our creativity and our higher functioning and free us from fear. So they're playing both sides.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? There's
Yeah.
the, yeah, there's the dark side, light side. I mean, to in my experience, I can only speak from my experience, of course, it's like there's a little flavor of both in all of us. And I'm like, I like to, I like to go towards, the one side, but hey, I'm not denying that it's all there, that it's all
Yeah.
there. And do you think there's anything particularly special? I hate to say this, special about us as a human race, like that in this particular point of time, in this timeline, like what is it about us? Is there anything about us, or we're kind of just like, hey, this is just one population of what exists out there in the vast universe?
We are a hybrid race. We have many ancestors of all different kinds, different dimensional levels. Some of them are humanoid, some of them are not. Our DNA is extremely diverse. We're a hybrid race like almost nothing this galaxy has ever seen.
Uh-huh.
And our basic purpose is to embody God consciousness. And that's our superpower. We do that better than any other species.
Wow, that is a superpower, and I love because I'm into epigenetics as well, and so I've dug around a little bit, not too much, but a little bit in the that arena. And if you're listening, you're like, "What's epigenetics?" It's the way your DNA expresses itself based on environment. So in certain environments, some parts of our genes, some parts of our DNA will get expressed, in others not. But having delved into that, I'm also aware that only about 1% of the DNA is getting expressed, and then there's 99%, which is quote unquote dormant. I don't call it junk DNA, I call it dormant, but that's a lot of DNA to be dormant. So I'm really, really curious. Yeah, what's in there? And you answered that question just before. I mean, obviously, all those genes are
Mm.
in there, um, alongside, yeah, alongside those other genes.
Yeah, we're here to be a creator race and to transcend this entire reality and integrate all the different planes of being. We're stewards, we're channels, um, we're an enlightened race, really. I mean, that's our design. Um, and and we're here to, yeah, to be stewards and to make peace and to show our creativity, um, and our, not just like art creativity, but all kinds, like engineering creativity, science creativity, spiritual, religious creativity, all the things, all the
All the
forms that
different
we make.
flavors.
And
All the
yeah,
different
and
flavors. Yeah.
just looking at Earth, it's quite obvious that we can't help but embody our purpose, like no matter how deep the mind control is. We have such a diversity of cultural forms. Yeah.
Talk about epigenetics. We were placed here on Earth in that environment to have particular genes expressed. And
Mm.
yeah, it's really beautiful to be part of that. That's what I think. I mean, it's a tricky
Mhm.
time, and as much as of a tricky time it is, it's still, yeah, it's still exciting. I'm excited for it. As I said, I get excited just like it is an exciting time. As much as of a tricky time it is, it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say again that these bodies are fine-tuned for direct awareness of creator force. Like that is a massive gift and we're the envy of the universe, honestly, for that.
Wow. And how come it's like question after question. And I don't expect you to have all the answers, but I love to hear your perspective on this because these are just, yeah, I just love it. Um, what why do you think we got to be in here now? Like not everybody, not every soul or energy type or being type has this experience like you and I right now. Like what when did we choose this one, so to speak? Or were we chosen to have this one? Or like what has this be the predominant reality right now for us, like people like you and I, or beings like you and I?
Yeah. Well, as I said, we really are the envy of the universe. There's a line of souls, millions and trillions of souls deep, like wanting to incarnate as a human being on Earth right now. Like this is a highly desired experience, like a treasured, cherished experience. It's like winning the lottery like hundreds of times to be a human being. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That puts it in, I mean, context, right? Context is decisive. Like, that puts it into context for me when, I have to do something that I really don't want to do later today. Like, this is a desired experience.
Yeah. Highly
Oh.
desired, blessed and highly favored. Yeah.
Ah, so beautiful. I mean, look, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and knowledge with us, and the listeners today, or whenever anybody listens to this, or some, today, now, let's just say all there is now. Um, is there, before I let you go, because I know we can keep talking, I keep asking you these questions, but you have to go at some point. I have to go. But what would you like to say? I've asked you so many questions, but what would you like to say if there's any message or anything at all that, yeah, that you want to say before we complete this conversation?
Mm. When you have the choice between fear and love, choose love.
Mm.
That's the basic recipe for human success.
Hey, I love that it's so simple and, you can actually do that and apply that and live that. You don't have to get a PhD in neuroscience for that.
Well, it might help. I mean, if you really understand the fear response, as you do,
Oh
you
my
can make a
gosh.
much more educated decision. Yeah.
It's an educated guess, right? Knowledge is power. It is. Experience is power. You're right. You're right. You're right. Oh, all right. Wow. Well, look, thank you so much, Alandra. It's been an absolute joy exploring so much. My brain has expanded as a result
Oh,
of this conversation, and I hope for the listeners the same kind of effect has taken place. Neural pathways have grown. Yay! All right. Well, thank you so much. And, I hope to have you on again. But thank you so much for your time, energy, and everything.
yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right.